This is Gary Atensi with CNTV, and today we're in Arvada, Colorado. I'm here at Peterson Firearms. Since 2012, they have been purveyors of fine weaponry while providing fair prices for the Denver folks, Arvada, and the surrounding areas. I'm here with Austin, who is the owner. Thanks for joining us, Austin. Let's start off a little bit about yourself. I mean, you began formally doing this here in 2012, just a few short years ago, but quite honestly, for the better part of half a century, you've probably been involved in guns of some type. This has always been a passion for you. Why don't you share with me a little bit how it is you got involved in doing this as a professional aspect?
Well, I, several years ago, decided that there wasn't a good outdoor rifle range available to the general public, and I sat down and started developing a business plan. Part of the plan was to create my own FFL license and to be able to I could sell and bring in firearms for folks, and that's basically where I'm at now. Finding enough room to put a rifle range outside is a little tough.
That sounds kind of exciting. Basically, if they take a survey out there of men and their passions, I would imagine the love of their firearms has to be at the top of the list, as well as their love of collecting the firearms. As early as the 9th century, they invented black gunpowder. 13th century, we had firearms, and they have been popular ever since. Why do you think firearms continue to be very popular even to this day?
Wow, that's a tough question. That was a curve. I wasn't expecting that. I don't know. I can't tell you why other people like them, but I can tell you that I think that they're absolute little tiny monuments to man's ingenuity and skill in engineering.
One of the things when people are out there shopping for a firearm, be it maybe their first gun or possibly to add to their collection, why is it important for them to work with a dealer who is reputable? And what does that mean exactly? What are they looking for when they're out shopping and deciding who to work with?
Well, I don't want to mention any big boxes because we all know who those folks are. It's important, I think, to have somebody that you can trust and have a relationship. That's what I came up with in my head when I decided to do this whole thing. I had a chance when I was going to a regular rifle range back in the early 90s. I got to know the manager very well, and his style really worked for me. It worked for everybody else that was out there. He kind of set the tone, and when we had to shut down because Flatirons Crossing was going in that whole complex, we had to shut down, and we haven't had an outdoor range since. A good one. A good one,
since you probably still miss that one as well. Let me ask you this. I mean, a lot of folks out there, when they decide they want to purchase a firearm, they've done a lot of research sometimes. They know exactly what they want. What about for that first-timer that basically not sure how to do this? They're not sure about it. You yourself have helped out with educating when it comes to hunter safety in the past. Is it important for you to educate these folks? Do you like the actual banter back and forth, talking about and educating people in this profession?
Absolutely. That's my whole reason for doing this at all, is that I think there's a bad rep in the firearm world, and a lot of people who don't understand them are scared of them, and I completely disagree. I think they're one of the most fascinating, wonderful inventions man has ever come up with. They're not necessarily all about killing people and being aggressive. It's not. There are so many sports out there that require firearms that are not about hurting people. They're about breaking little clay targets or shooting holes in paper. Outside of being an FFL and doing this little business, I'm a range safety officer at a local gun range up in Broomfield. And my whole job is to take people and to make them understand what firearms are really about and how much fun they can really be.
Educate them not only the safety, the responsibility, but also the fun in this that's been going on for centuries. In this economy, or really in any economy, we all want the best bang for our buck. I mean, quite honestly, folks want the best bang for their buck. Everybody's looking for the best deal. Is this a place to come to you and really look for a good deal?
Absolutely. I'm not in this business. The FFL part of my business plan is not to make a lot of money. I'm not going to lose money in the process, but I'm certainly not going to retire from my income from selling firearms. I don't charge a lot. I charge usually $40, maybe $50 more than what I have to pay to get the firearm. And I always wanted to be that guy, that firearm FFL dealer that some guy knew, said, "Oh yeah, I've got somebody in the industry. I know somebody in the industry, and I am always getting a, the guys are, well, I'm always getting a good deal on a firearm." I always wanted to be that guy, and I am.
And now I am. That is great. So not only are they glad to know you personally, but they're glad to know you. Their pocketbook's glad to know you as well. Obviously, this is an industry that's been around for centuries. What you're basically saying is you still do it the old-fashioned way. Old-fashioned customer service. You like meeting with folks. You're always up for a good chat about guns.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's I want all of my customers to be my friends, and I want all my friends to be my customers.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the inventory that they're able to find here with you. Let's start off, first of all, with pistols. Okay. Tell me what are some of the makes, models, brands, and types of pistols that you've worked with.
Okay, so I do mostly 90% of my business is special order. Okay. I don't carry a lot of inventory. Okay. I get in, I carry on a regular basis, I carry CZ, I carry Glock, because Glocks are very popular. I carry Springfield, and I can pretty much get my hands on almost any firearm you can imagine. So I've got huge connections.
What's nice about the fact when you can custom order for somebody, you can literally get anything they want. I mean, you're not limited by what's on the shelf. You pretty much can talk with them and find out what they're looking for, be it a single shot, semi-automatic, fully automatic, anything for anyone. And that kind of makes it a pretty wide array of what people are able to come and get with you.
Absolutely, yeah. The fully automatics are not quite in my forte yet. I'm working on it. I just haven't actually been presented with my license, or a tax stamp is actually what it is. But that's in the works, and I just haven't received it yet. But other than the fully automatic, other stuff that comes along with that ability to that tax stamp, I can get you pretty much anything. I have an example here. This is a custom-made elephant gun. It's a 4.16 Remington. And they take humongous rounds, and they're more fun to shoot than anything else I've ever put on my shoulder. So.
Amazing. I mean, I spoke about earlier how basically this is a passion for men, but I would be ill-advising people out there if I didn't mention women. I mean, women have a passion for their guns anymore. What is a good starter gun for, let's say, a woman to have in her hand purse for safety and for protection?
Wow, I like your questions. These are awesome. I teach women to shoot, particularly good at teaching people who've never touched a firearm before. Yeah. I can get them to understand that it's not an evil thing. And girls are very often the folks that I get to start teaching. I usually start them out, believe it or not, on a .357 Magnum. That's a great big revolver. I do that because the revolver is heavy. I put in lighter loads, little 38 special loads, which will fit in a .357 Magnum. And I teach them that recoil isn't anything to worry about. The weight of the firearm sucks up all the recoil, or most of it. You still feel it, but it's really gentle and mild. I teach you good habits, proper grip. That's 65 or 70% of your accuracy when you shoot. And then when they're comfortable, I actually grab a handful of .357 Magnum rounds and let them shoot that. And then they understand the difference between what recoil really is. And they realize that big recoil is just a little more than little recoil. It's really nothing to worry about. And with that, after they get used to that, and I need to back up a little bit, revolver is a simple recoil. It comes only one direction. Automatics will very often do 2 or even 3 directions. And it kind of freaks me out. My wife is one of those people. She won't shoot an automatic. Her firearm of choice is a .357 Magnum. And she could, frankly, part your hair at about 300 yards.
Wow, amazing.
Really
as we move up from the pistols and we start getting into the guns that are meant to be shot from the shoulder, if you will, let's talk about rifles. What are some of the rifles that you've been able to provide for folks?
Oh, lots and lots. This one I picked up from one of my regular customers. I have this one. This is a funny little Belgian-made firearm. It looks funny, but they're really fun to shoot. They're sometimes very hard to find. I picked up a couple about a year ago. This is my last one. Hunting rifles. I've put out several AKs. Regardless of what people think, they're actually a really fun firearm to shoot. They're very gentle, and the shoulder recoil is nominal. 243s has a particular caliber. It's a very light hunting rifle. 270, 30-06, 338 Ultra Mag. That's a monster. But I actually specialize with my interest, the bigger stuff. Anything over 40 caliber in a rifle is what I really enjoy talking about and selling. And
yeah, absolutely. When we're talking about rifles, I mean, these are guns that were basically designed pretty much for accuracy, so they can be used for hunting, they can be used for target shooting, or even for warfare. Pretty much a little bit of all three.
yes, sir. Not all firearms are built for self-defense or for war. Right. This one was actually used by the French military and the French police. That horrible incident back in France a few months ago. If you were watching, some of those French folks, French policemen were running around with these guys. Their versions were a little more lethal than this one. This one's a civilian model. This rifle, which is actually in fact an elephant gun, is built for strictly hunting and strictly hunting big game. Dangerous game, African, lions, tigers, bears, oh my.
Interesting. Educate, if you will, some of the viewers out there, the difference between a rifle and that of a shotgun. I mean, a lot of people, I notice they're not sure what the differences between those two are. Share with us, if you will.
Wow, I really do like your questions. Yeah. Rifles shoot a one projectile of varying size, depending on what caliber they are. Shotguns generally shoot a collection of smaller pellets that spread out as they leave the firearm, so that if you're trying to shoot a moving target like a bird, cover a larger area. There's a thing at the end of a shotgun called a choke, and that will somewhat control how fast those little tiny pellets begin to spread out. Quarry, like a dove, which are very small, very fast moving critters. They move about 55 miles an hour in still air. I think we clocked one with about 120 with a tailwind. And so you can't just put one projectile out. That would be an irresponsible thing to do. So you use smaller pellets, which only go 150 yards, maybe, and then they're falling off. They have no oomph after 25 or 30 yards anyway, so.
Excellent. So pistols, rifles, shotguns, they can come to you, find these things. What about the accessories when we're talking about camouflage gear, basically the holsters, even sights for the guns, gun cases? Are all these things something you're able to get your hands on for them?
Absolutely. I can get pretty much anything you want. I've got a website, and my wife absolutely insisted that if I start a website, I have to put a whole page in there dedicated to girls in pink, or whatever that means. It could be purple, but a whole page dedicated for the accessories for girls, because she thinks that, that's more important than the firearm.
Well, that is excellent. Viewers, take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see is the website address right there. Take a look at the site. They will keep you apprised of what some of the guns they feature, but keep in mind, like you say, this is really a customized shopping experience for you, because they can order exactly what it is that you need. If you've never shopped before for a firearm, not sure what you need, definitely give them a call or come down, see them in person. They believe in old-fashioned customer service, where they're here to share their experience of what they've done throughout the years. Like you basically said, you learned early on from another business that it's nice to have a friend in the business.
It is.
And it's nice for people to talk of you in that way. Has this been rewarding for you just in the short period of time that you've been going?
Absolutely. I would not change my life one iota right now. I love this industry. I have always loved firearms, to my father's chagrin. He died recently 2 years ago at 86. The proud as a peacock that he had never physically touched a firearm. He was kind of a pacifist. I didn't get this passion from him. I got it from my mother's dad, my grandfather, who was a great hunter and loved venison and loved elk, and he hunted every year. And I only took one shot with a .22 rifle when I was about 9, and I was hooked completely. And I've been there ever since. So.
That is wonderful. Viewers, last time, take a look at the bottom of the screen there. His contact information is right there. And keep in mind, basically, we had to come down and share this story. We in the media, I basically believe that as our nation goes forward, we have to remember that the past is important to understand that it is the safety and responsibility of firearms. That basically firearms are not the problem, but actually the solution. This is Gary Atensi with CNTV. And if you don't know, now you know.